Gabriella never imagined her life would change overnight, but the day her parents told her she was getting married, everything inside her shifted. She didn't scream or argue. She just stared at the floor as they explained that the groom would be Xavier, the son of her father's closest friend. She had met him only a few times. He was quiet, serious, always looking like his mind was somewhere far away. But she never once imagined her future would be tied to his. When both families sat together to finalize things, Xavier barely looked at her. He answered questions with short, sharp words. When her mother asked if he was okay with the wedding, he nodded stiffly. But later, when they were alone for a minute, he turned to her, his face blank, and said in a low voice, "I'm only doing this for our parents. Please don't expect anything from me." It felt like someone slapped her. She swallowed her pain and said nothing. She didn't want to ruin anything for her parents. The wedding came quickly. Everyone laughed, danced, and celebrated, but inside, Gabriella felt like she was stepping into a storm. And the storm arrived immediately. On the first night, Xavier didn't yell, didn't insult her. He simply ignored her. He slept on the far edge of the bed facing the wall. The next morning, he left without saying a single word. Days turned into weeks. Xavier avoided her every chance he got. He came home late, ate alone, pretended she didn't exist. The silence around him was heavy, suffocating, and cold. Gabriella tried her best to make the home warm. She cooked, cleaned, decorated, and even left small notes wishing him a good day. Every note went untouched. One evening, as she walked past the living room, she heard him speaking on the phone. His voice was sharp. "Marriage doesn't change anything. I didn't want this." Amina's heart cracked. She slipped into the bathroom and cried quietly, covering her mouth so he wouldn't hear. But life has a strange way of changing people. One night, Xavier came home shaking with fever. He tried to act tough, insisting he was fine, but his body betrayed him. He nearly collapsed before reaching the bedroom. Gabriella ran to hold him. "Please sit down," she said. He tried to pull away, stubborn, cold, but he couldn't even stand. She guided him gently to the bed, panicked, placing a hand on his forehead. He was burning. Gabriella stayed awake the entire night caring for him. She brought cold towels, medicine, checked his temperature every hour, and held his hand when he shook from chills. She didn't sleep at all. She didn't complain. She just cared. Xavier woke around 4 a.m., eyes heavy and unfocused. The first thing he saw was Gabriella sleeping upright beside him, still holding the thermometer. Her face tired but peaceful. He stared at her quietly. Something in him soft, a feeling he didn't understand. He whispered to himself, "Why are you so kind to someone like me?" Gabriella didn't hear him, but that moment planted a seed deep inside him. The next day, Xavier did something he had never done before. He spoke first. "Thank you for last night." Gabriella looked up, surprised. It was the first softness she had heard in his voice. After that, little changes began happening. He came home earlier than before. He occasionally asked if she had eaten. He no longer avoided her eyes. Sometimes she caught him watching her quietly when she laughed or hummed while cooking. The wall between them had cracks. One afternoon, Gabriella sliced her finger while cutting vegetables. She hissed softly and rushed to the sink. Xavier, who had just walked in, saw the blood and hurried to her like a reflex he couldn't control. "Let me see," he said firmly. She hesitated, shocked by his sudden concern. He gently held her hand, cleaned the wound, and applied a bandage. His touch was careful, almost protective. "Gabriella, be careful," he murmured. Her heart skipped. Was he caring? The real change came a week later. Gabriella visited a friend and came home late. Her phone had died, so she couldn't call. She expected the apartment to be dark and quiet. Instead, she walked in to see Kabir pacing the living room, stress written all over his face. His eyes were red as though he had been worrying himself sick. When he saw her, he rushed toward her. "Where were you?" he asked, voice shaking. "I thought something happened to you." Gabriella froze. "He cared this much? You were worried?" she whispered. Xavier ran a hand through his hair, exhaling like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "I didn't want to be," he admitted, "but I was." He stepped closer, slowly, as though afraid she would pull away. "Gabriella, I treated you badly. Not because of you, because I didn't want this marriage. I felt trapped. I thought you would take away my freedom. I blamed you for something. That wasn't your fault, his." Voice cracked as he looked into her eyes. "I'm sorry." Tears gathered in Gabriella's eyes, not from pain, but from relief that the coldness was finally melting. "I never wanted to force anything," she whispered. "I just wanted us to try." Xavier nodded slowly. Then, can we start again? She nodded. And for the first time since the wedding, he reached out and gently took her hand, not out of duty but out of choice. From that night, everything changed. Xavier began waking up earlier just to make her tea. He sent her messages during work,
came home
eager
eager
to
to
talk
talk
to her, to sit with her, to laugh with her. He walked behind her in the kitchen and wrapped an arm around her waist. He held her hand whenever they went out. He touched her gently, like she was something precious he had finally learned to appreciate. One quiet night, as they lay in bed, Xavier pulled her closer and kissed her forehead. I didn't fall in love with you instantly, he said softly. I grew into loving you, slowly, deeply, more than I expected. Gabriella smiled against his chest, tears in her eyes. I waited for you, she whispered. But it was worth it. Their arranged marriage, cold, distant, painful, transformed into a love story neither of them saw coming. A story where enemies became lovers, and lovers became soulmates.